睇到。
Continuing with the rest of our days in Florence, we had been pretty lucky throughout our trip. Every day was a sunny day, we didn't have too many rainy days, and it's always good weather, not too hot, not too cold. We lived in the neighborhood that seemed to be more local, but because it was still close to downtown and the tourist attractions, we were still able to see a lot of tourists around, but they seemed to be a lot of domestic Italian tourists, not just all from overseas.
呢間就係介紹話好好食，Google review 都超好嘅 Leonardo 啦。
有2個位嘅喎，佢有啲位仔喎，可以。
好，坐下食下食埋先好。好靚喎啲嘢，佢呢啲 biscotti 好出名嘅喎。哇，好係啦，買翻啲。係咯。哦，佢啲早餐 pizza 喎。
By random chance, this lady here actually invited us to her home for a quick chat, so we had breakfast at her rooftop for about an hour before going back to our day. It was just interesting to see what the home of a local person looked like, which I won't show you, and the view here from her home, of course. Our next stop was the local market nearby our Airbnb. You can see that it's really for the local people in their neighborhood. The produce are really fresh, and the products and clothing and everyday items they were selling were at a really low price. Obviously, the quality isn't that great, and some might be made in China or Italy, but it's really cheap enough for the people in the neighborhood. There's an outdoor part and an indoor, more permanent part of the market. Every time we travel, we love going to the local market. Like I said, prices are more reasonable and more down to earth because they're really tailored for the local people in their neighborhood. And you always get food and the produce that are more fresh, that are just great and not for tourists. So you can see here is what the local people buy: meat, and there's food and seafood, spices, and their pasta, really. So it was a good experience. We ended up buying just a few grape tomatoes to try, and they were delicious. Just look at that photo, just bright and delicious looking. My other personal favorite place to go to when traveling is the local supermarket, like the franchise supermarkets. So you always get the reasonable prices for what the local people really eat. So I got a few local chips from there, and they were delicious. You would be able to see they are also selling alcoholic beverages and wine at a really good price in the supermarket. So we got a few things from there for sure. We were also surprised to see an Asian supermarket, so of course we had to check it out. They really had a mix of a lot of Asian items, so they had Chinese items, Japanese products, Korean. Here you see you have the sake, plum wine, soju, Chinese wine, cup noodles from all those Southeast Asian places. You have the sauces, so you kind of get a mix of everything, but prices were obviously more expensive than what you would get in Asia and even Canada. This is the takeaway pizza we got before a photo shoot. If you want to see all our photo shoot photos, you'll have to go to our slideshow, which is a different video. After our photo shoot, of course we went out for a nice dinner. You can take a guess at the dishes we ordered before I review them in our special episode about foods. After playing being local for a day, we're going back to completely tourist the next day.
在晴朗的一天出發。
At Uffizi Gallery, we joined the guided tour, which I absolutely recommend because there's just so many things to see and you have only so little time to spend at the gallery. With this guided tour tickets, it's supposed to be the skip the line ticket, but just because there are still so many guided tours and groups that were going in, we still had to line up for the skip the line entry. We waited for at least half an hour through the skip the line just to get to securities. It was pretty packed that day when we went, or maybe it's just always packed at this gallery. And here are some of the masterpieces we saw during our guided tour. After spending about 4 to 5 hours at the gallery, we had to get some snacks and find a nice place just to rest before continuing with the rest of our day.
Good job！ 我世界和平，個個健康。哎呀，唔中喎！
啊！你推返佢入，你入多次啦。
Yeah.
We were just having a relaxing afternoon around the city while waiting for our pasta class to start, and that eventually got canceled, so we just had to find a random restaurant to go to for dinner instead. We ended up going to this restaurant that resembles a spaghetti factory or a cheesecake factory, except the food was way worse, so I wouldn't recommend it unless you're on a really tight budget. We saved the best for last. Our last stop before leaving Florence was the Cathedral of Santa Maria del Fiore. We had a bit of a mix-up. We actually bought tickets to go to the Duomo with a time entry of 9:45, but we thought to access the Duomo we had to go through the cathedral, which opened at 10:30. That's why we were in this long lineup. And right before going in, without any tickets that was required, I lost the ticket that we purchased for the Duomo. So we actually had to pay extra money to buy another ticket to go to the tower instead, because they weren't allowing any more time entries into the Duomo that day. So, and I can tell you that wasn't the first and last time we lost money by ourselves in Italy without anyone scamming us, really. And here we are at the Giotto's bell tower with 414 steps up.
今日又行414級上，跟住落返嚟啦。不過應該影唔得晒咁多，全程上去啦。
My legs are tired already.
佢都係咁講，個細路都係咁講啊！你聽唔聽到啊？佢話 My legs are tired already。跟住個阿媽就話唔好咁講啊，咁樣啦。我都攰。
我覺得個 pizza 難行啲喎。
係啊，佢睇啊嘛，但係呢個長啲啊嘛。
I can't believe you had to pay for this.
唔係，好嘈啊！佢哋。
I can't believe you need to pay for this.
Just take it slow. Yeah. Oh,
My God.
sorry.
落斜嗰啲啊。
Yeah.
Worst enemies.
Who's your worst enemy?
The stairs.
We're all allergic to the stairs. This is the top. 嚟啊！我可能咧仲短過琴日嗰條。
You probably heard from the noise in the background that it was really windy up in the tower, so I had to take this picture. And continuing up to the next level. This is me trying to show you what it feels like to walk on this open platform looking all the way down the tower and almost tripping over. Then me being a child showing that I'm not afraid of heights. We were pretty lucky that it was right at 12 when we were inside the tower, so we got to see the actual bell being rung. This is the Duomo or the dome right here. So if I didn't lose my ticket, we could have gone to where these people are now, basically overlooking the city, but we might have had a better view from the tower because we got to capture the dome itself.
快啲上去啦！衝啊！定佢仲搖緊，走晒我啲人，一打完就走啦。啊！
But when we got to the very top, we found out that there was no belt there. It was probably hidden for safety reasons. The outside of the very top of the tower was basically a 360 degrees panoramic view of the city, but it has fences all the way around, so you can get really good views with your own eyes or with your camera, but not so much with the person in the photo. My last tip about Florence before leaving is that it's really difficult to catch a taxi in those tourist attractions, so it's best to call this number to arrange for a pickup.
開唔到添，開唔到。